Hello and welcome to another episode of Hessy and Maven. I'm Justin.
I'm Raven.
And on this week, we are doing Pride Month.
A lot of dust came off of that when you did that just now.
I'm so sad. That's mean of you to point out. Because the listeners would have had no idea that happened when I did the fan. But now, thanks to you, they do.
Well, I'm holding a mic, so they had to know.
Yeah. You are holding a mic for the listeners. We have a little bit of mechanical failure on the sort of metal arm that holds Raven's mic, so she has to physically hold it with her hand. So we're experiencing something new. Mm-hmm. Welcome for the ride. And before we go too far into the episode or anything, at least while it's mildly warm,
oh God,
we are going to be trying, thanks to Raven's return from Australia, we're going to be trying toast with Vegemite. Mm-hmm. Go ahead and I'll take whatever half you don't want to take. All right. And
smells like regular toast.
Ready?
No. Okay.
Ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Trying it. Oh. No. It's gonna be a no from me. No, it's gonna be a no from me.
I'm just gonna get another bite that didn't have Vegemite on it. It's a little bit like, sorry for people who hate chewing, but
yeah, it's gonna be.
It's a little bit like if you had buttered toast and then you took a packet of ramen seasoning and sprinkled it on top. That's what it tastes like to me.
Kind of, yeah. Very interesting. Oh boy, that's gonna leave a flavor.
Yeah, sorry, Vegemite fans.
You either love it or you hate it. That's why I hear. Now that that's out of the way, we do have another thing we will try at some point in the episode, but that's gonna be a more pleasant, hopefully.
Yeah, the other thing is called the Violet Crumble. I saw it in a lot of places. I tried to get, while I was there, my goal was to not eat stuff that I could get anywhere. Mm-hmm. Like I was trying to eat only stuff that could be found there, which worked out a lot, but I was trying to save money. So one night I did just get a rotisserie chicken from the grocery store that I could walk to. Yeah. But for like candy and snacks and stuff, I really tried to stick to just Australian. Yeah. And this Violet Crumble says Australia's Violet Crumble. And I think it's chocolate covered honeycomb. Yeah,
like flaky stuff for sure.
The honeycomb was very popular there. I saw it all over the place.
I'm excited.
I tried Hokey Pokey ice cream.
Hokey Pokey?
Which is what the flavor is called. And it's butterscotch ice cream with honeycomb pieces. And it was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, it was so good.
Yeah, this looks good. I'm excited for that.
I'm hoping it's good.
So, tell us about the highlights of Australia, the trip. How was the flying? How was...
The traveling there was the worst part. Yeah. Because it was 3 flights there and back. Jersey to Vancouver, Vancouver to Sydney, Sydney to Sunshine Coast. On the way there, my flight to Sydney had to divert for a medical emergency, which has never happened to me before. But we had to stop in Honolulu to let somebody off the plane. And it reminded, the whole time all I was thinking of was the Tom Segura bit where he talks about his plane diverting for a medical emergency. Yeah. And he's like, he talks about how like they better be dead. And then he's like, well, if they're dead, do we really need to stop? I mean, there's nothing that can be done for them. But yeah, we had to stop in Honolulu to let her off. And we were sitting on the tarmac for 3.5 hours and we weren't allowed to get up.
Oof.
So we got pretty cranky. So that flight that was 15 hours ended up being like 19 hours.
God.
Which was very long.
Yeah. And that sucks because it's on the way there and you're like, this is cutting into my time.
Yes.
Ugh.
Yes. And because of that, and because that flight lost my luggage was sent to a different city in Australia, I missed my third flight. And I went to go tell them, I'm here, I missed my third flight because of this and this. The girl was like, oh, the next flight that we have to Sunshine Coast is tomorrow. So I started to cry because I was like, I'm like so exhausted at this point. Like,
seriously.
I just want to go to the hotel. And she was like, you should call Air Canada was the airline. She's like, you should call Air Canada and have them pay for a hotel and a new flight. And I was like, yeah, I hear you, but I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to cry and just not do anything. And she was like, okay, let me be right back. She felt bad for me. So she called corporate Air Canada and had them like express send my baggage to my hotel. And then she put me on a different flight on a different airline like an hour later.
Yeah.
To Sunshine Coast. So I ended up getting there. And then I got to Sunshine Coast, finally, tried to Uber to my hotel, and my card got declined. Uber kept declining my card.
Oof.
So then I was trapped in Sunshine Coast. So it was like nightmare after nightmare after nightmare. But I cannot say enough for the people that I met, like all the people of this town.
Yeah.
They were so incredible, so willing to help me, like so kind. And a gate agent at that airport bought me an Uber, and I gave her American dollars in exchange. And she was so sweet. Her name was Jess. I saw her again when I was coming home. And she was like, oh, like you have to come back. Like you can find me. Like we'll meet up. And I was like, oh my God, like you're so nice. She was so great.
Met somebody.
I know.
That's amazing.
I met a couple people that were like, oh, you're like, did you move here? And I was like, oh no. Because people would approach me because of my tattoos. It's a great conversation starter.
I bet, yeah.
So, and then they would hear my accent and immediately be like, oh my God, where are you from?
Yeah.
And then I would tell them, a lot of people thought I was from Canada. I guess they get a lot of Canadian
That's
visitors.
a compliment.
Yeah.
That's how I would feel about it. I'd be like...
Yeah. And then I had to be like, America.
Sorry.
Yeah. And then there were a couple people, when I said New Jersey, they would say, is that by California? Because I guess California is like the most knowable state that we have.
Probably. It's up there.
And I would go, no, other side, New York. And they'd go, oh. So then I just started telling people I was from New York.
Yeah.
Because it's
the East Coast.
More knowable than Jersey, I guess.
Yeah.
Our dad was like, just ask people if they've seen Jersey Shore. Tell them that's where you're from. And
that's not what you want your representation to be. They're like, oh, you're a drunk. You're a terrible person.
So I just told people I was from New York.
You dance a lot.
Yeah, with the fists. Yeah.
The fists.
No, but everyone was so nice once I was there. And this is a pro tip for anyone who was like me, who did not do enough research and know how to get around. Uber ended up working towards the end of my trip when I used PayPal to pay for Uber. So what I could gather was the reason that Uber wasn't working is because Uber was not converting my American dollars in my bank account to Australian dollars. And because I was in Australia, they wanted me to use Australian dollars, and it just was not working. So I ended up using PayPal to pay for Uber, and that worked. So then I ended up getting around. But I went to Australia Zoo, which was like a bucket list item ever since I was little. I love the Irwin family. I did not get to see them, which was an absolute travesty.
Yeah, that really sucks.
They were in the United States in like 2019 when I was working at Disney, and they went to the parks on my day off. So I didn't get to see them. I flew halfway across the world to see them again. I'm pretty sure they were at a wedding. So didn't see them again, which is a very me thing to happen.
It's just another reason to go back.
Yeah, that's
that
what everyone
and Jess.
said.
Yeah,
they're like, you just have to go back, and I was like, yeah, I know. But it
what
was
were
incredible.
your top 3 favorite animals that you got to see at the zoo?
Wombat.
Wombat, yeah, I saw a picture that
They were walking it on a leash. Its name was Kato.
Oof, yeah, very
It was
good.
so cute. A cassowary.
Cassowaries are sick. Good answer. Okay.
Yeah, that was cool. Because I've seen the Irwins talk about them.
Yeah, I remember seeing Steve Irwin talk about him
and
like how.
They can kick you. He like ran away from one, had to like jump the fence.
Yeah, exactly. It's insane.
And probably, I'm trying to think of anything else I saw there that was like they had some pretty cool reptiles. I got to see a king cobra, which I thought was cool because when we went to the Philadelphia Zoo, they had an exhibit for a king cobra, but it wasn't in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever really seen a king cobra.
It was awesome. You could see like the hood that would branch out of its neck. Yeah. And it's just like
tucked away
in case of emergency.
I like that.
And it was huge. Like, it was so big. Its enclosure was huge.
Oof.
But yeah, it was.
It was a cool zoo. Like how
it was awesome.
Like the way that it was designed.
It was awesome. It was huge. I went on a drizzly day, very similar to the day we went to Philadelphia Zoo. Ugh. But I was dressed right this time. I had a rain jacket. I had closed-toed shoes.
There you go.
And I had no makeup on. My hair wasn't done. So I was very not worried about getting wet at all.
Right.
And it was like dead. There was like there were multiple times during that day when I found myself on a long path and I was the only one. Wow. So it was like really cool. My only complaint is that I didn't get to stay as long as I wanted because the zoo closed. I got there when it opened at like 9. It opened at 9. I got there at like 9:30. It's open till 5. I wanted to stay the whole time, but at like 3, my phone was on like 10%, and I had to get an Uber back. So I had to leave.
Yep.
Which sucked because I
had to play it safe.
I didn't bring a phone charger with me, which was a rookie mistake. But I'm grateful for this trip because it taught me all the mistakes that I made for future international trips that I know will go better.
Yeah, for sure.
Because now I know what not to do.
Exactly.
Like, no matter where I'm going, bring a fucking phone charger.
Yeah.
Like, with the wall outlet.
For sure.
Because there were outlets all over the zoo.
Yeah.
But I couldn't charge my phone.
Were they the same outlets? Did you need an adapter or anything?
I needed an adapter, but because they lost my luggage on my first night, I didn't have my adapter that I brought with me. Yeah. So I ended up just buying an Australian phone charger. That had the appropriate plug, and I just used that the whole trip. So now I have 2 Australian plugs.
Yeah.
But they are the same plugs that it's like, I kept seeing them everywhere. It's like Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, and I think maybe China. I don't know. There's like a few countries that have that plug. So,
yeah, never.
But it was amazing. It was so fun. The weather was great. I got to try some cool food. I tried a crocodile.
How was crocodile?
Have you ever had burnt ends?
I think at one point, I've had that.
It reminded me of that a little bit. But the restaurant where I had them, they were fried. They were southern fried crocodile. The coating, whatever they fried it in, tasted like maple syrup. Oh. Like it was very sweet. So it was like strange. And then it was dipped in chipotle mayo. So there was like a lot of flavors.
Yeah, that is a lot of flavors.
But I'm not good at being like, oh, this is really good, so I can ignore the fact that it's crocodile. The whole time I just kept thinking this is a crocodile. This is a crocodile. This is a crocodile. Like, yeah. It was like when I tried snail and I was like, this is a snail. This is a snail. This is a snail.
Oh God, yeah. Snails are one of those things I've tried it once and I was like, I'll never try that again. It's like not for me.
Yeah, it's not for me either. But I don't think crocodile is for me either. So, but I chickened out of trying kangaroo.
Well, I don't necessarily blame you there.
It was like too expensive for me to try it and then hate it.
That too.
Yeah, and that night, let me just tell you, I've never felt more like a pestery American than that night, because I could tell what was happening was the waiters and waitresses were like, let's give her time to try all these different dishes, and we'll leave her alone, and we'll not come back to her every 2 minutes to check on her. But while I was there, because of the time difference, my schedule was always like, I went to bed at 6 p.m. and woke up at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
That was like every day, which was fine because at 3 a.m. it was 1 p.m. here. So everyone here was awake. So they were talking to me. So I was like, might as well be up anyway.
Yeah.
And that dinner was at 7 p.m. So I was already tired.
Yeah. When
I got there. So them taking 100 years to come back to me in between every thing.
Yeah.
Was like, I was constantly like,
oh yeah,
peeking around corners, like, where are they? Like, come back to me. Like, I was like 2 heartbeats away from being like, doing a wave. Yeah, which I never do.
Right.
But I was so exhausted. Yeah. It was like, I asked for my dessert to go, and I could tell that waitress had never been asked that question before.
Yeah.
Like, she was like, oh, I think, let me just make sure. I'm not sure if we can do that. And I was like, okay. And if she had come back and been like, we can't do that, I would have been like, never mind. I just want to leave. Forget it. But they did. They put my dessert. It was a deconstructed cheesecake.
Whoa.
So like the bottom layer of the Tupperware was the crumb bottom.
Yeah.
And then it was like a little blob of cheesecake, and then all the toppings were like little dollops.
Whoa.
All around, yeah. I have a picture of it. I'll show you later.
Cute.
But yeah, all around, apart from my transportation struggles, it was an incredible trip.
Amazing.
I want to go back. There's something called the Big Loop, where people drive around the perimeter of the country, and you hit every major city.
Wow. So
like Darwin, Adelaide, Melbourne, which is how it's spelled. I feel like when I say Melbourne, it's like I'm trying to be Australian, but I'm not.
That's how it feels.
I know, but that's
I think
how
that's
they
how
say
they,
it. But do we say Melbourne?
We say Melbourne.
We say Melbourne?
Yeah, they're saying it in their accent. If you say Melbourne in a Australian accent, it definitely comes out like Melbourne.
I don't know, because I feel like I said, in one of my Ubers, I said I wanted to go to, I was like, I'm going to pronounce it wrong, like Melbourne or Melbourne. And he was like, yeah, Melbourne.
Did he say it in an Australian accent, though?
They all had Australian accents.
Yeah, so that's what I mean.
But he said I was right. When I said Melbourne, he was like, yeah, Melbourne. That's how it's pronounced.
He said that's how it's pronounced? Or
yeah. He said Melbourne. Yeah, Melbourne.
I don't know.
That's how it said.
Hey, Australian listeners, all 2 of you, get into the comments. Let us know. Send us an email, hessyandmaven@gmail.com. We have a YouTube, an Instagram, a TikTok, at hessyandmaven, one word. Check it out. Let us know. Melbourne?
Yeah, and Sydney, and you hit every major country, and I want to do it.
Every major city.
Every major city. I was told it takes 3 months minimum.
Jesus.
So at some point in my life, I need to check out for about 3 to 4 months, go back to Australia, and do the Big Loop. It's a new life goal. Also, cool. The last thing I want to talk about.
Okay. Whoa.
Is not that. In the Sydney airport, I discovered something magical.
I can't wait to hear.
Okay.
Lay it on me.
Remember when you had an overnight layover and you were struggling with sleeping on the floor and you were so sad and it was you're
in Las
worried
Vegas,
about
being groped.
Is my stuff gonna get stolen? Is I'm not gonna be able to sleep. It's loud. There's lights.
Yeah, it's terrible.
I just discovered something in the Sydney airport called Aerotel, and it was in the international terminal. And I walked all the way down this very long hallway where people were arriving from international flights and their families were welcoming them.
Yeah.
Walk past all that. And then in the very end of this hallway, in a little back corner, you walk into what looks like a cave. And there's a little man at a little reception desk. Is Olive under your bed?
You know, I don't know where she is.
Oh no.
She's actually right underneath me.
There's a little man at a little reception desk. And it's a hotel in the terminal. And I walked up to this man and I said, "Do you have any rooms?" And he was like, because I thought there's no way they're going to have rooms.
Yeah.
Like, if they have rooms, it's going to be a miracle. Like, they're booked out for months.
Right.
You're going to sleep on the floor by your gate.
Yeah.
I'm like, "You don't have a room, do you?" He's like, "You're alone?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he was like, "Yeah, I have a room." And I was like, "Oh my God." So I got this room. It was $173 US. I walked in to he opened, he gave me my key.
Yeah.
And he opened the door behind him, which felt like a secret door. And I walked through, and there was a little hallway. And then I turned the corner, and there was just like a hotel hallway, like all the room numbers. And I opened the door, and there's like a beautiful queen bed, a little TV, a gorgeous bathroom with a shower, toilet, sink,
What?
Excuse me. Like, all the amenities, shampoo, conditioner, body wash, like, towels, anything you could need. And I had a 14-hour layover, and I spent the night in this little hotel room. And then I got up the next morning, checked out, walked the 5 minutes to my check-in gate, and then was at my gate. It was magic.
That's amazing.
A 12 out of 10 experience. If you can afford it, do it. 100% worth it.
Oh, yeah. If you got a
I was showered. Like my hair was in a French braid. I had to buy a new shirt because I got banh mi juice on the shirt that I wanted to wear. Yeah. So I was in a very badly fitted Sydney, Australia t-shirt that I got from the gift shop. Mm-hmm. That was too expensive. But I was in new clothes. Like, rested, ready to go. Yeah. So, incredible.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was so great. Wow. But yeah, all in all, it was an amazing trip, and I can't wait to do another international trip.
That's good.
Well, I don't know where I'm going to go, but we'll see.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's a lot of fun. I'm glad that you went and had a good time.
Yeah, me too.
And are back safe, and I don't have to worry about tracking your flights for Dad. Mm-hmm. Or being
for some reason, my texts were not. There was one day that he was getting my texts. Like, I texted him. He was like, "Oh, I got that." And I was like, "Oh my God, great!" Texted him that whole day. He kept texting me back. Every other day of the trip, did not get a single text I sent him. Yeah. And there would be like random times where like I'd wake up in the morning and I'd be like peeing, and my phone would just blow up. Yeah. With like every text. So there was something weird because he doesn't have an iPhone.
I guess that's the only thing I can think of.
I don't know why. It should have worked because I had data and Wi-Fi, but I don't know.
Weird.
But
we made it work.
Yeah, it was great. And I'm back now, and I'm back to work, and I hate my life just as much as before I left. But, you know, we live day to day. Okay.
Amen to that, sister. Okay. So without further ado, let's get into our topic for this episode.
It's the Pride Month episode.
It's the Pride Month episode.
Brought to you by Vegemite.
We don't know who owns Vegemite. That could be a scandal, Raven. Don't sign us up for that. We could get canceled. We don't know who owns Vegemite.
Brought to you by Violet Crumble.
Raven, we don't know. Anyway, yeah, I just wanted to do a fun episode where we talk about some famous people who have been important in LGBTQ history and stuff like that. So it's not like a normal ranking where we're doing like, this gay person was a better activist than this gay person. That's not the point. Yeah. But for just the ease of organization, we'll just rank them. But yeah. So yeah, Raven, do you have anything you want to say?
No.
Okay. Let's get into it then. Mm-hmm. Would you like to go first, or you want me to go first?
You go first.
I can go first. Okay. Okay. So, first up, I have Harvey Milk. He's a pretty important guy. He was elected to office, openly gay man, mainly in San Francisco. Unfortunately, assassinated. I don't know if you knew that. Very sad, but okay. So, in 1930, Harvey Milk is born in New York City to Lithuanian Jewish parents. He joins the Navy. He fights in the Korean War, serving as a rescue diver aboard the submarine, the USS Kitawaki, is how I'm pronouncing that. Eventually, he found his way to San Francisco, which was becoming sort of a safe haven for gay people, right? We think of San Francisco as like a mecca for gay people, right? Like just it has that history, including people who are being kicked out of the military for simply being gay, because that used to be the thing. And then I think it was Bill Clinton came around and did Don't Ask, Don't Tell, which was like, you can be gay, just don't tell anybody about being gay. That's my Bill Clinton impression. By 1970, the gay community was being courted by all kinds of politicians because of their strength in unity and organizing power. During the Watergate trials, it was the frustration of listening to Nixon's attorney general repeat, "I do not recall," over and over again that made Harvey Milk want to enter politics.
Okay.
You know what Watergate is?
Yeah.
It's like Nixon and like the spying on the competition and then lying about it and obstructing justice and all this stuff. And he got impeached, or he was going to get impeached. I forget if he did or not, but he ends up resigning and then is pardoned by the next president. Ford, I think. Crazy. But anyway, that event and like seeing the sliminess, he decides, I'm going to get involved in politics. It took several campaigns and losses to finally be elected into office to the Board of Supervisors. He received national recognition as one of, if not the first openly gay man elected. He helped pass legislation that would help ban discrimination on the basis of sexuality. He openly opposed prejudiced legislation like the Briggs Initiative, which would have made it mandatory for public schools to fire gay teachers or anyone who supported gay rights. Go figure, he didn't like that. So, like today, unfortunately, still, Briggs made the false and hateful statement that gay people want to recruit, corrupt, and abuse children, which is why he didn't want them in schools. That old chestnut.
Yeah.
Milk showed statistics and facts that proved that was not true. Eventually, even then Governor Ronald Reagan opposed the initiative, and it was shot down. So, even a Republican governor, Ronald Reagan, Lord of Republicans, even he was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
At a Pride event in California, Milk had this to say. These are direct quotes. Why are we here? Why are gay people here? And what's happening? What's happening to me is the antithesis of what you read about in the papers and what you hear about on the radio. You hear about and read about the movement to the right, that we must band together and fight back this movement to the right. And I'm here to go ahead and say that what you hear and read is what they want you to think, because it's not happening. The major media in this country has talked about the movement to the right, so the legislators think that there's indeed a movement to the right, and that the Congress and the legislators and the city councils will start to move to the right the way the major media wants them. So they keep on talking about this move to the right. Kind of just going over how the media will sort of paint this negative picture and make it seem like supporting gay people or gay people in general is like this extreme thing. And it's not. And then, unfortunately, on November 27th, 1978, Harvey Milk is assassinated by a former colleague. The murderer claimed depression and was only given 7 years in prison for manslaughter.
Jesus.
For not only did he kill Harvey Milk, but he killed another elected official also, and then had like attempted murder on 2 others, but got only 7 years. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's insane.
And Harvey Milk is really well known for like this one particular speech that I believe is called the Hope Speech. It means hope to a nation that has given up, because if a gay person makes it, the doors are open to everyone. Yeah, just talking about like getting into a little bit of like intersectionality. I think that's like kind of a common thread between almost all of the people that I have.
Yeah.
Is like just a little bit of intersectionality, the idea of having I guess like multiple realms of identity and having them intersect, and having like the knowledge that while there are unique differences, there's also like a shared experience. Because most of them are often treated as like an other.
Yeah.
So bringing all those others into a Venn diagram, so to speak. Intersectionality.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's Harvey Milk.
Was he born Harvey Milk?
Good question. I think so.
It's just a fantastic
Yeah.
public name.
Harvey Bernard Milk.
Like, it sounds like he would have been like Harvey Milkenstein, and then someone was like, for the public, let's just make it Harvey Milk. It's snappier.
It's snappier.
It's a snappy name.
It is. It's fun.
It's sad that he got assassinated. I hate that.
Yeah, very sad. It's crazy.
That's a good one, though. Good guy.
Yeah, he is a good guy. There's some schools in Texas that are trying to ban books about him because they claim that he's a pedophile, and it's like,
They're always trying to ban books.
he's not. He's just gay. Calm down. But
I don't know why people are trying to ban books, because what information you're looking for in the book you're trying to ban, you can just Google. So, like, even if you get rid of this book, I can just Google it.
it's ridiculous.
Like,
they make all kinds of dumb claims. It's just prejudice and just trying to erase history.
yeah, it's stupid.
To make it, I don't know. They have this really weird, and I'm gonna talk about other people who have the same ideas, but like the notion that people can be like made gay,
Yeah.
or like made to be trans or something like that is so idiotic.
Yeah. I hear
But
you. So, all of the people I chose are women. I wanted to do a highlight on women.
love it.
The first person I chose is Christine Jorgensen.
Okay.
She was born in 1926.
Fun.
By the way, there is someone who comes to my pharmacy who was born in 1925.
Wow.
Her name is Muriel. And she looks and sounds like she was born in 1925.
Yeah.
Anyway, Christine Jorgensen was an American trans woman who was the first person to become widely known in the United States for having sex reassignment surgery.
Oh.
She had a successful career as an actress, singer, and recording artist. Jorgensen was drafted into the U.S. Army during World War II. She served as a military clerical worker. She was pursuing a photography career. During this time, she learned about sex reassignment surgery and traveled to Europe, where in Copenhagen, Denmark, she obtained special permission to undergo a series of operations beginning in 1952, which I think is just wild that sex reassignment surgery was happening at that time. Like, It wasn't happening in the United States, but just happening in the 50s is like
Oh, yeah.
a lot earlier than I would have ever guessed.
Yeah, definitely.
While I was reading about her, I found that she never intended to be, like, famous.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't her goal to be, like, actress, like, famous person. But when she returned to the States after her surgeries in Denmark, her transition was the subject of a New York Daily News front page story. And the New York Daily News actually outed her. Like
Wow.
a letter she wrote to her parents about it got leaked somehow.
Jeez.
And it got to the New York Daily News and they put it on the front page.
Wow.
She became an instant celebrity and then ended up using the platform to advocate for transgender people. So it was like something that she never wanted to happen, but then she was like, well, here I am.
Yeah.
Like, let me see. She said she had like a couple incredible quotes. Oh, I thought this was amazing. Jorgensen intended to go to Sweden, where the only doctors worldwide who performed sex reassignment surgeries were located. But during a stopover in Copenhagen to visit relatives, she met, a Danish endocrinologist and specialist in rehabilitative hormonal therapy named Christian Hamburger. Jorgensen stayed in Denmark and underwent hormone replacement therapy under Dr. Hamburger's direction. She chose the name Christine in honor of this doctor.
Wow.
I know. I love that. I was like, aw. This is... Okay. Dr. Hamburger explained the gender hormone procedure. The first sign was an increase in size of the mammary glands, and then hair begins to grow where the patient had a bald patch on the temple. Finally, the whole body changed from a male to a female shape. More than a year after beginning the hormone therapy, Jorgensen received her first surgery. However, she never publicly explained her new anatomy or the surgery outcome, but she did say, which I like, everyone is both sexes in varying degrees. I am more of a woman than a man. Of course, I can never have children, but this does not mean that I cannot have natural sexual intercourse. I am very much in the position right now of a woman who has had a hysterectomy, which I feel like is interesting. Let me see. It's interesting that it said she obtained special permission from the Danish Minister of Justice to undergo these operations. So I don't know why she had to get special permission, but So this is in a letter to friends. This is how she wrote how the surgery affected her. As you can see by the enclosed photos taken just before the operation, I have changed a great deal, but it is the other changes that are so much more important. Remember the shy, miserable person who left America? Well, that person is no more, and as you can see, I'm in marvelous spirits.
Amazing.
Which I was like, yeah, I love that.
Cute.
Yeah, so cute. The article that outed her had the headline, XGI becomes blonde beauty.
Yeah.
Which is, it's like so sad that outed her.
It's like, yeah, very scandalous, which is ridiculous.
But. Yeah, but she ended up becoming like very famous. She wrote an autobiography in 1967 that sold 450,000 copies.
Wow.
Titled The Story of My Life.
Bingo bango. Make that money.
Yeah. And she was just awesome. And something else I wanted to point out. She was in a sketch. Let me see. Jorgensen worked as an actress and nightclub entertainer. In her nightclub act, she sang several songs, including I Enjoy Being a Girl, in which, in the end, she makes a quick change into the Wonder Woman costume. She later recalled that Warner Communications, owners of Wonder Woman's character's copyright, demanded she quit using the character. She did so, using instead a new character of her invention, Superwoman, who was marked by the inclusion of a large letter S on her cape. Of her invention?
Maybe Superwoman didn't exist at that time yet.
I wonder if anyone gives her credit for that. But I thought that was
this
interesting.
world, probably not. But
she died, unfortunately, of bladder and lung cancer in 1989 at the age of 62.
Oh.
But yeah, so I just thought she was super cool.
Super cool.
Yeah.
Very awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. My next one is, and I don't have a ton on her, but is Gladys Bentley.
Okay.
There's a chance you may have seen pictures of her. while I'm talking, look up a picture. She's usually wearing suits. There's Aunt Colleen vibes in that way.
Okay.
Born in 1907.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Born in 1907 in Philadelphia, Bentley was an American blues singer, a pianist, and an entertainer during the Harlem Renaissance.
Big top hat and a cane.
Of the 20s, yeah. She recounts her childhood being super hard. She had a distant mother who always wanted a boy and kind of rejected her when she was born because she was not a boy.
Mm-hmm.
But she has memories of not being interested in men, liking to wear boys' clothes, and having a crush on a female teacher. Scandalous. She recalls being ridiculed by family and peers for her more masculine clothing choices, and her family even sent her to doctors to, quote, fix this. Not good. She eventually runs away from home at 16 and goes to New York City. There, she hears about a gay speakeasy called, and get this, Harry Hansberry's Clam House.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'd love to go to a speakeasy.
Same.
Sidebar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Began dressing in nice suits and actually got hired. They had an open position for a male piano player, and she
nice.
went for it and started dressing up sort of like sometimes in like exaggerated like drag, but like and eventually the club was renamed Barbara's Exclusive Club as she was performing under the stage name Barbara Bobby Minton.
Okay.
So then she starts performing at other clubs, and she's getting like more and more money and famous and all this different stuff during, again, the Harlem Renaissance. There's like reports of her being able to afford like a really nice apartment in New York, and some people say that she had nice cars and servants. Other people said that she was living with this like rich lesbian actress at the time or something like that. She becomes friends with like movie stars and actors and like really part of, you know, quote unquote famous life. She was friends with Cary Grant and Cesar Romero. Her songs were considered, and this is in quotes, comical, sweet, and risque. She would openly call out men in her songs. Olive, thank you. Olive, you're so loud. Oh my gosh. I can't with you. It's too much. You fucking... Okay. Where was I? She would openly call out men and talk about sexual relationships in her songs. Very risky for that time.
Mm-hmm.
She would sing about women and flirt with them when they were in the audience and stuff. And she even ended up being signed by several different recording labels and like being featured on a bunch of different songs and stuff like that.
Awesome.
So she was like a piano player, a singer,
an entertainer.
Yeah. And she was always like pretty open about being a lesbian.
Yeah.
And being into women and stuff like that. So yeah, she was just really big. She was a huge performer. Some of the other clubs, the Ubangi Club. Yeah, she did a bunch.
That's awesome.
She had some legal battles about people owning her songs and like her trying to use her own songs to do things on Broadway and stuff like that. There's like some interesting hot goss about some stuff here and there. But yeah.
Love that.
Yeah, she has a tangled web of relationships.
Who doesn't?
Who doesn't, you know? We're all just human. But yeah, got to give it up to Gladys Bentley.
Gladys Bentley. I wonder if you can find her music somewhere. Or if it's too old.
I wonder. Well, go ahead.
Cool.
Yeah, who's your next person?
Okay. My next person is Cecilia Chung. She is a civil rights leader and activist for LGBT rights and HIV/AIDS awareness.
That's great.
Cecilia was born in Hong Kong in 1965, later emigrated to Los Angeles with her family in 1984. She is located in San Francisco. Cecilia spent much of her adult life advocating for health-related issues affecting the LGBT community, including working as an HIV test counselor at the UCSF AIDS Health Project, HIV program coordinator at API American Health Forum, and deputy director at the Transgender Law Center. Additionally, Cecilia is the first transgender woman and first Asian to be elected to lead the board of directors. This is a mouthful. To lead the board of directors of the San Francisco Lesbian, Gay, Bisexual, and Transgender Pride Celebration, and the first transgender woman and the first person living openly with HIV to chair the San Francisco Human Rights Commission. Cecilia founded the San Francisco Transgender Advocacy and Mentorship, or the SF team, to provide events for the transgender community through the San Francisco LGBT Community Center. She's also one of the founders of the annual Trans March. In 2013, Cecilia was appointed to the Health Commission by Mayor Edward Lee. She made headlines. This I thought was awesome. She made headlines for making San Francisco the first city in the United States to pay for gender reassignment surgery for uninsured transgender patients.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't even know that if you're uninsured and you live in San Francisco, they'll still pay for it. Through her appointment, she was also able to train the San Francisco Department of Public Health staff members about transgender issues in programming called Transgender 101.
Oh my goodness.
Right? The same year, Cecilia was appointed by President Barack Obama to the Presidential Advisory Council on HIV and AIDS, where she served 2 full terms and then resigned from the council before Donald Trump's inauguration, which, understandable, we all would have done that. For the 2014 AIDS conference, Cecilia published an article titled HIV, A Call for Solidarity with the Transgender Community, in which she shared a personal encounter with police abuse and emphasized the importance of inclusivity and unity within the trans women community. Cecilia is the Director of Evaluation and Strategic Initiatives at the Transgender Law Center and the former chair of the USPL HIV Caucus. So, it's just like
It's Jessica.
being a ghost.
Yeah, don't mind her.
I just think it's so important. Like the fight to advocate for people who are HIV or AIDS positive with HIV or AIDS, I think is like so important because it's so demonized and it's so like hush hush, and like I think it's still something that like a lot of people struggle with internally on how to treat people that they know have HIV. Like I feel like there's a lot of education that needs to be done. So I thought that she was awesome.
She sounds awesome. She sounds like she does a billion things. She's on the board of 1,000 organizations. Wow.
Like, I really admire people
Cecilia
who do that
Chung.
because it has to be like her whole life.
Yeah. It sounds like it.
Yeah.
That's so impressive. Wow.
Yeah, and she's an immigrant, so fucking go immigrants.
Hell yes.
Yeah. Awesome.
Baby.
Cecilia Chung, we love her.
Love it. Cecilia Chung, baby. I actually heard recently in the news that there have been a handful of people who have been, quote unquote, and I'm putting those in quotes myself, just to be safe, that have been like cured of their HIV.
Yeah, I think science is getting there, where they're able to do it now.
Love to freaking see it.
I know.
Love to freaking see it. Okay, so take a mini break here because I think I may have found some Gladys Bentley. And we'll see if this works.
That's kind of what I thought it would sound like.
Wow, yeah.
But I love it.
I love it so much.
Yeah.
One of the things I was reading about her said that she was known for making trumpet noises with her
That's
mouth.
awesome.
I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah. That's
Love
cool.
it. Okay, cool. My next one is going to be a blast from the past.
Okay.
This is the oldest one on my list.
Okay.
And I found him for several reasons. One of which, we talk about book bannings.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of his books and essays that he wrote during his lifetime were banned. Some of them were banned for so long that they were only recently found in 2004.
Oh, wow.
Like, ridiculous. And thank God they weren't, like, burned.
Yeah.
Right? Insane. So anyway, this is Karl Heinrich Ulrichs.
Okay.
I will
German?
be referring to him as Ulrichs. Interesting. Technically, yes, he was German, but he was born in 1825 in the Kingdom of Hanover, which was under the like Confederation of Germany.
Okay.
Like it had all different names.
Mm-hmm.
So what is now Ulrich, Germany? Ulrichs was a lawyer, a jurist, which is like a legal expert. It sounds like somebody who's in a jury,
Okay.
a jurist. But technically, in this context, it means like legal expert.
Mm-hmm.
Journalist and writer. He's regarded as a pioneer of sexology and the modern gay rights movement.
Okay.
So sexology, more specifically, is the study of sexual attraction as well as sexuality.
Okay.
It's not like the study of doing it.
Okay.
I just wanted to be clear.
Okay.
He is described by some scholars as the first gay man in world history.
Oh.
And that meaning has a very... they're being very specific when they say that, and I'll explain. So, he has written that he knew that he felt, quote-unquote, different when he was very young. Mm-hmm. He noticed that he preferred bright colors of, like, military uniforms or women's clothing and stuff like that. He had his first sexual experience at 14. And then he would later go on to sort of keep the gay side of him secretive. You know, like he wasn't really super out about it. But he goes to graduate university. He becomes a lawyer for like the government, essentially. He does that for 5 years. But then he ends up resigning instead of being fired because there was a possible blackmail situation that popped up that threatened to publicly out him, and he would have to contend with the fact that he was a gay man. 8 years later, he ends up telling his family and friends that he was what was referred to at the time as an Urning. 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 Although that might be the German pronunciation of the word, and it's pronounced slightly differently. It has to do with like an old Greek myth that he wrote about where like Aphrodite could be born from a male god, and I think it was Uranus or something like that, and that's where he gets this word. And then if he's born from a female god, then it's this other word. And he was like, in a lot of his writing, like his essays and stuff, he was like coming up with terminology for things.
Okay.
Of like, instead of like, it's not until I think a lot later in his lifetime, I think he's still alive for it, where the word homosexual becomes is used for one of the first times, you know. And he didn't love that word because the context of like, it's more than just like sex. Like just trying, which is funny because that's what we talk about these days when it comes to book bannings and all these different stuff, is the idea that like the existence of gay people or trans people is inherently sexual.
Right.
And it's like, no, it is not.
Yeah.
Like, just because, how many times in movies do you see a straight couple kiss? Mm-hmm. Why do you switch it with a gay couple and now it's instantly evil and corrupting and it's going to change your kid gay? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how many gay kids grew up in super straight households or like hyper religious and like they're still gay? Mm-hmm. You denied them all of the literature and TV shows and representation, still turned out the same. Mm-hmm. It's like, stop being fucking tyrants and weirdos. Anyway, so he is writing under a pseudonym, and it's a fun pseudonym, so I made sure to write it down. Numa Numantius.
Okay.
Right? I think it's interesting that it's Numa Numantius, like Justin Justinius.
Yeah.
Raven Ravinius, like using the same thing is interesting. But he wrote a bunch of essays. He described the love that two men can have. He also wrote about various terms for different types of queer identities, including gay men, lesbians, bisexuals, and intersex people.
Okay, nice.
Ulrichs was often in trouble with the law for his words. He was like, not like on the run, but like he would get in trouble a bunch.
Sure.
Many of his essays and books were confiscated or totally banned. He eventually would begin protesting, even speaking before bodies of government to advocate for the repeal of anti-gay laws. And he soon began writing around that time under his real name and published many books. And in the books, he would straight up say, I am, and his name, something, blah, 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 or Ulrich, and I'm an Erning. I'm a gay man.
Okay.
So that's why he's claimed as the first gay man in world history, in the sense of like written history. Like, he publicly outed himself in writing, in published books and stuff like that. Like, of course gay people existed before him, but the novelty of outing yourself and like that whole complexity of it because of social stigmas and whatever, right? He eventually moves to Italy to live out the rest of his years, and many of his works that were confiscated were only found just in 2004, which I said at the beginning. Mm-hmm. One quote from him, again, this is in like the early 1800s. Jojo, please, we're talking about Ulrich here. Karl Heinrich Ulrich.
There's a lot happening. Sorry, friends.
All right. One quote from him here is, "Until my dying day, I will look back with pride that I found the courage to come face to face in battle against the specter which for time immemorial has been injecting poison into me and into men of my nature. Many have been driven to suicide because all their happiness in life was tainted. Indeed, I am proud that I found the courage to deal the initial blow to the hydra of public contempt."
Hydra.
Amazing. Yeah, he mentions, like, in the 1800s, mentions gay men and, like, queer people in general, I assume, like being driven to suicide because they're sad because they can't live their true lives. And he talks about public contempt and the idea that, like, so much of that is unfortunately external, which then translates into, like, an internal feeling of either inferiority or just unhappiness and, like, dread and all that shit. It's crazy to think about.
Yeah, and he was doing it so early.
And now he's like it said that in the 80s he became like a cult favorite. You know, like how movies become like cult classics. Like, there's like a street named after him. There's like a day where they celebrate and it's all very gay.
It sounds very gay.
In a good way.
Yeah. Great.
Perfect. That is my third one.
Very good. Okay. My third one is Edith Windsor. Commonly known as Edie Windsor.
Ah, yes.
I think Edie is a cute name. She was born in 1929. She was an American LGBT rights activist and a technology manager at IBM.
Oh, wow.
She was the lead plaintiff in the 2013 Supreme Court of the United States case, United States versus Windsor, which overturned Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act and was considered a landmark legal victory for the same-sex marriage movement in the United States.
Love to hear it.
I'll get a little bit into that and why she sued the United States government. She was born in Philly, so she's from Philly. She got a degree from Temple University in 1950. Our mom also went to Temple.
Go Temple. Owls.
Yep. Screech owl. So in the beginning of Edie's life, she was like, she knew that she liked women, but it was so like against the norm of society that she didn't want to be a lesbian. So she did end up marrying a man who was her older brother's best friend, named Saul Windsor. Saul is a Saul. I don't like that name. Sorry. That's how I feel about it.
Okay.
Hold on. I think my dog is returning. Yep. I can sense her from a mile away. Okay.
Where were you?
Where was I?
Saul.
Okay, yeah. So she was dating Saul. Saul proposed to her, and she said yes, but then she backed out because she fell in love with a female classmate. Then she was having some internal struggles, didn't want to be a lesbian, reconciled with Saul, and then they got married in 1951. They divorced in 1952. She confided in him that she longed to be with women. She left Philadelphia for New York.
New York.
In New York, she met Thea Spire, an Amsterdam-born psychologist, in 1963 at a restaurant in the Greenwich Village called Portofino.
Portofino.
What a nice, neat, cute restaurant called
Greenwich
Portofino.
Village.
When they met, each of them were in separate relationships.
Ooh, scandal.
So it was like, they had to be together.
Ooh, girl.
Yeah.
Oh, God. Here we go. Hey, Joe. Hey, Jojo.
Oh, no.
Hey, Jojo, please. Joe, please.
Stop.
Joe, please, I absolutely beg of you. I couldn't.
Stop.
Yeah, please.
Stop.
No, for real, though. Please, stop. It'd be good if you stopped.
Okay.
Thank you. Good girl. Come here. Come here, baby.
Okay,
Aww.
and then I like the way this article puts this, to explain the length of their relationship. So they ended up getting engaged, and Spire proposed to Edie, and they were nervous that a traditional engagement ring might expose their relationship they were kind of keeping on the DL. So Spire proposed with a pin.
Oh.
I know. Which, sad that they had to do that, but it's still, a representation of their love, which I think is cute. And then it says, 6 months after getting engaged, Windsor and Spire moved into an apartment in Greenwich Village. In 1968, they purchased a small house on Long Island together, where they would go on to vacation there for the following 40 summers.
Whoa. That's dedication.
Right?
I couldn't imagine summering in the same place for that long, also.
I know.
What am I, the Gilmores?
It says they did often take...
What am I, Richard Gilmore?
They did often take international trips. But so they were together for a million years. In 1977, Spire was diagnosed with MS, which is a degenerative disease that progresses through your body. So Edie had to end up becoming a full-time caregiver for her. Yeah, which is sad. Windsor and Spire did enter a domestic partnership in New York City in 1993. They registered on the first available day that domestic partnerships were allowed. They were issued certificate number 80. They're the 80th couple.
Wow.
Yeah. Spire in 2007 was given a prognosis of life of less than a year due to her health issues. New York had not yet legalized same-sex marriage, so the couple opted to marry in Toronto, Canada in 2007 with Canada's first openly gay judge, Justice Harvey Brownstone, and the assistance of a filmmaker and same-sex marriage activist familiar with the laws in both countries. The announcement of their wedding was published in the New York Times.
Good for them.
Spire, unfortunately, passed away in 2009. And then, in all the articles I read, I didn't see anything about this except for this article. In 2016, Windsor remarried. I know, which I didn't think would happen because she's very old at this point. But, age is just a number. In 2016, Windsor married Judith Kaysen at New York City Hall. At the time of their wedding, Windsor was 87, Kaysen was 51.
That is insane. That is insane. That's like if mom married an 80-year-old person, I would have something to say. Unless he was filthy rich. Or she, or whatever
I know.
Mom wants. But unless they're like, they got it. This has to be like an Anna Nicole Smith situation. I need them to be like dying and very rich.
I know.
And then maybe I'd be like, all right, mom, I'll call him dad. Whatever.
Yeah. Well,
but like,
Windsor did pass away the following year.
Wow.
So
get it in while I can.
Yeah, I don't know.
Smoke them if you got them.
She did publish a memoir about her life titled A Wild and Precious Life. Now, the reason that I'm talking about her is because she sued the U.S. government, which I think was awesome.
Hell yeah.
So, the case where she sued the government, United States versus Windsor.
Fucking punk rock.
Upon Spire's death, so Spire was her first partner, the 40 Summers. In 2009, Windsor became the executor and sole beneficiary of Spire's estate. And Windsor was required to pay $363,053 in federal estate taxes on her inheritance of her wife's estate. Had federal law recognized the validity of their marriage, Windsor would have qualified for an unlimited spousal deduction and paid no federal estate taxes. So, in the same situation for straight couples, you don't have to pay anything.
Right.
But because they were a same-sex couple, the government was like, well, you have to pay these taxes.
Oh.
So, Windsor...
Freaking classic.
Yeah, Windsor was like, no, I'm a surviving spouse. I don't have to pay any taxes. And then it says she was barred from that by Section 3 of the Defense of Marriage Act, which provided that the term spouse only applied to marriage between a man and a woman. The IRS found that the exemption did not apply to same-sex marriages, denied her claim, and compelled her to pay the $363,000 in taxes. In 2010, Windsor filed this is 2010. Like, I can't believe that Windsor filed a lawsuit against the federal government seeking a refund because the Defense of Marriage Act singled out legally married same-sex couples for differential treatment compared to other similarly situated couples without justification.
Exactly.
In 2012, Judge Barbara Jones ruled that Section 3 of DOMA...
Is Olive inside the cat litter thing?
No, she's next to it.
Hey, Olive, get away from there.
Olive. Come
Sorry,
here, Bubby.
I just don't want her
Olive.
near the cat poop.
Come here. Stay over here. Okay. In 2012, Judge Barbara Jones ruled that Section 3 of DOMA was unconstitutional under the due process guarantees of the Fifth Amendment and ordered the federal government to issue the tax refund, including interest. The U.S. Second Circuit Court of Appeals affirmed in a 2-1 decision later in 2012. The U.S. Supreme Court heard oral arguments in the case in March 2013 and on June 26 of that year and issued a 5-4 decision affirming that Section 3 of DOMA was unconstitutional as a deprivation of the liberty of the person protected by the Fifth Amendment. So she got this taken away. So now same-sex couples, this happens to them the same as it does man and woman couples.
Good.
Yeah. So
it's ridiculous.
It was like a landmark victory for the LGBTQ community.
Yeah, I can imagine so.
Yeah.
It's freaking wild, man.
I just can't believe it happened
It's
that
so
late.
insane.
Like 2013, 2010. Like,
what the hell is going on?
We're still having gay couples have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars in taxes when straight couples don't. Like,
yeah,
absolutely crazy.
It's literally nuts to me. Like, that's why I don't understand anybody who has the opinion that this group of people have these rights, these group of people don't deserve those same rights.
Yeah.
Just because of, like, nothing important.
Yeah.
Like,
I know.
There's no important difference other than they don't live the way that you want them to live. Mm-hmm. Go fuck yourself.
I know.
Jesus, it's so annoying. I mean, it's more than annoying. It's like straight up fucking oppression and like all this terrible prejudice and homophobia and unfortunately violence sometimes because one group of people is allowed to just be like, oh, they're all groomers and they want children and all this shit, and it's like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. These are things that, as Ulrich and all these other people that we bring up could tell you, these are old ass talking points that were fucking lies then, they're lies now, and it's just fear mongering. It's very frustrating. But okay, I'll do my next one.
Okay.
My next one is Miss Major.
Okay.
Born in Chicago, 1940, Miss Major Griffin Gracie is a black transgender activist who's been fighting for over 50 years.
50 summers.
Yeah. Crazy. She participated in the Stonewall riots, survived harsh prison atmospheres, is considered a leader, a feminist, and not just a trans rights activist, but a human rights activist. Miss Major came out as transgender in the late 1950s, so it would have been like her late teens, I suppose. And she recounts the difficulties that she faced. Kind of what you would expect for the most part. Just people not understanding, being treated differently, potentially being threatened with the opportunity of violence because of being different, looking different, and all that shit, not fitting within the boundaries of society. And she talked about, quote unquote, living outside the law, is how she put it, because of rejection from mainstream society, including getting a job or getting an education, constantly being policed by societal norms and state policies. In the 1970s, I read that she had a roommate, and that roommate was killed in her apartment. And police eventually ruled it a suicide, but she was convinced that it was a murder. But yeah, she was super frustrated and just had no power to do anything about it. The police said it was a suicide, so it's a suicide, and there you go. Even though, very, very sad. In 1978, Miss Major moved to San Diego and began working at food banks and soon providing direct resources to trans women who were incarcerated, suffering from addiction, or unhoused. So began fighting the good fight and supporting people who went through similar struggles as her. She experienced a lot of homelessness, some addiction. She worked as a sex worker, which, of course, during those times is super dangerous and highly illegal and stuff like that. Not that there aren't aspects of that probably today and stuff like that, but she, in 2003, began working at the Transgender Gender Variant Intersex Justice Project, sometimes referred to as TGVIJP. JP. I knew I was gonna fuck it up. It's interesting because like some articles said that she started it, and others were like she joined on this side. Who knows? But she became an executive director, helping trans women in prison, specifically women of color. She speaks out often about the treatment that transgender people get in prison, and like police brutality and all kinds of stuff like that. She also speaks out for trans youth and she fights for youth to have the most basic of rights and stuff like that, like really basic shit, you know, being treated as a human and whatnot. Oh boy. Olive is very curious of the smells coming from the cat litter box, which has like a domed lid and a little like swinging door. So that's why she can't just like straight up get cat poop.
Well, that's good.
But a quote from her says, "I'd like for the girls to get a chance to be who they are. For young transgender people to go to school, learn like everybody else does, and then get out of there and live their lives, not afraid of thinking that the only solution for them is death." Isn't that sad and intense? Like literally the most basic stuff. That's why you see some like activists today who are like trans rights activists and civil rights activists and gay rights and whatever, right? Like they'll have shirts that say like stop killing trans kids.
Yeah.
Or like trans kids deserve not to die, or they're like very intense, and it's because like the 500 plus pieces of legislation that have been anti-trans across the country, like at the end of the day, it's just like banning abortion. Like you're not getting rid of abortion. You're just getting rid of safe abortions. Yeah. It's like all of this shit that you guys are doing. You're not going to get rid of trans people. They will always be here. What you're doing is you're just making it incredibly dangerous for them. Yeah. From external factors like fucking violence groups and stuff, people who are violently protesting against drag queens of all people, whatever. No one cares about the Catholic Church and all the articles that come out about them and hundreds of thousands of abuse victims. But the drag queens. Yeah. And then like, I don't know. And then the internal factors like suicidality and stuff like that, and all of the studies that show how much the most basic gender affirming healthcare is. And like, I can give like the smallest amount of slack to some people because it's like, I get it. You weren't taught about this. You don't know many trans people. You're getting your shit from like brainwash websites that are telling you that there's 25% of the population is trans and they're everywhere and they're giving infants gender affirming care. It's just like, oh my God, you guys are crazy. Stop with the fear mongering. So that being said, Miss Major was very big. She's huge. She's like a huge advocate, has been fighting for so long, doing so many things, really helping out the most underrepresented and like marginalized parts of various communities. Another big proponent of intersectionality. Like she talks about being black. She talks about being a woman, being trans woman. You know what I mean? Like all these different things, being poor, being unhoused. Yeah. And all of these different parts of going to prison and what it's like being a person who went to prison and has to contend with life again. And all the intersectionality of all those different sort of ostracized groups. It's crazy.
I love that.
Wild. But yeah, Miss Major. She's still alive too.
Wow.
Yeah, and she's got 5 kids.
It's a lot of kids.
She had a kid fairly recently too, which is fucking wild.
I wouldn't want that many kids.
No, not in a lifetime. Not in a million years.
Yeah.
It's not for me. That many kids? Are you kidding me? Get out of town. Yeah. No. Speaking of which, started watching very briefly the documentary on Prime, I think, about the Duggars. Oh. Yeah.
No thanks.
And you know who they are, right? The 16 and counting, 18 and counting.
Jim Bob. Michelle.
Yeah, like just
every
like
kid name starts with a J.
Hardcore Christians who don't believe in evolution and stuff like that, and think evolution are all lies, and like just the craziest stuff. And then also a lot of child abuse and inappropriate behaviors, we'll say, and stuff like that. And then like finding out about the cult that sort of they spawned from, and it got very cliche because it was just like everything that every other cult does. Yeah. Especially the like Christian leaning ones. The ones where it's like, well, the Bible says all of these things that would contradict what I as the cult leader want. So how do I get people to change the Bible? It's like, that's pretty hard. What if I tell them that I can talk to God? And God, so I'm circumventing the parts of the Bible that are like, hey, don't judge people and love everyone. And those like good part, the, handful of parts that are like actually legit good when they're not taken out of context. And then being like, so you need to have as many kids as possible because we're going to build an army of like God warriors. Yeah. We're going to homeschool them so that they don't know any better. And eventually we might get to the part where I'm allowed to do polygamy, but no one else is. Yeah. In fact, I want your wives. It's like so weird. But yeah, it got so cliche, in fact, that I like kind of got disinterested. Like I was just like, oh my God. And I just have trouble like watching like this Jim Bob motherfucker like just be like, so we know evolution is a lie. There's no proof for it. And you're like, dude,
you can't be a good guy named Jim Bob.
What are you talking about? It's hard. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
Okay. But yeah.
Are you ready?
Ready.
So my last two I'm combining.
Bring it on. Come on.
Because they were a couple.
Okay, perfect. I love that.
Dr. Tam O'Shaughnessy and her life partner, astronaut Dr. Sally Ride.
Sally Reed?
Reed?
How's it spelled?
R-I-D-E?
Sounds like Sally Ride.
Why did you think it was Reed?
I don't know. I think just because I feel really bad now. I just feel like in my head, Reed makes more sense as the last name. But no.
You've never heard of Sally Ride?
No, I have. I think I always thought her name was Sally Reed.
Oh. Yeah, she was the first American woman in space.
I love that for her.
Yeah. Previous to this research for this episode, I thought that Dr. Sally Ride was in the space shuttle that as it took off, like immediately blew up and killed everyone on board.
Oh, God, so sad.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, the Challenger flight.
Yeah, I thought she was on that, but she wasn't. She died of not being in a spaceship in 2012. Okay. So, Sally Ride was the first American woman, this article says, to soar into space.
I love that.
She captured the nation's imagination as a symbol of the ability of women to shatter barriers.
Fuck yeah.
I love it. Sally's historic flight represented just one aspect of a remarkable and multifaceted life. She was also an athlete, a physicist, a science writer, and an inspirational leader in science education. Dr. Tam O'Shaughnessy and Dr. Ride, and three like-minded colleagues got together to start a company called Sally Ride Science. The goal was to inspire children of all backgrounds in STEM and to promote science literacy. After Sally's death in 2012, the company became a nonprofit based at UC San Diego. California gets all the good stuff. Today, Sally Ride Science carries on her legacy with innovative STEM programs under the direction of UC San Diego Division of Extended Studies.
Wow.
Also, interesting note, Dr. Tam O'Shaughnessy, she was a doctor because she got a PhD in psychology. Crazy. She was a professional tennis player. She was on the women's professional tennis circuit from 1971 to 1974, competed in the U.S. national championships, and her coach was Billie Jean King.
What?
I know.
So cool.
Like, crazy of all the people who were...
Hell yes.
Yeah.
I love that. Billie Jean King. Hell yes.
Yeah.
Loved her.
Just crazy. She also competed in the 1972 Wimbledon Championships. During her tennis career, she was ranked as high as number 52 in the world in women's singles and as high as number 6 in the U.S. in women's doubles.
Whoa.
O'Shaughnessy won national hardcourt doubles titles in the junior division and in the women's division.
That's amazing.
After retiring from tennis, O'Shaughnessy was the founding publisher of the Women's Tennis Association newsletter for several years before going to college to study biology.
Oh my goodness.
She got a BS, so she got a bachelor's and a master's in biology and a PhD in school psychology. She did research on preventative interventions for children with reading difficulties and was continuously funded by the U.S. Department of Education starting in graduate school.
Huh.
She retired early to concentrate on Sally Ride science and was named Associate Professor Emeritus, feels Latin, at San Diego State University. O'Shaughnessy had extensive experience cultivating children's interest in reading, math, and science. Besides being a former science teacher, O'Shaughnessy had written 12 children's science books along with Sally Ride. So they wrote children's science books.
Amazing.
They received, I know, so cute. I loved this because, like, I remember growing up, like, cool kids science was, like, awesome. Like, I loved going to, like, Michael's and going to, like, the little science kit section where you can do, like, little experiments and, like, reading cool books. They received the American Institute of Physics Children's Science Writing Award in 1995 for their second book entitled The Third Planet, Exploring the Earth from Space. O'Shaughnessy published a children's biography of Sally Ride titled Sally Ride, a photobiography of America's pioneering woman in space. The book combines reminiscences from Ride's family and friends with photos, including many family and personal photos. So
Cool.
They were just like
a fucking power couple.
Such a power couple.
Jeez,
like such a
dude.
sciencey power couple.
Star,
yeah.
Creative. In
like,
love. God damn.
Yeah. Like absolutely incredible. This says Sally was finishing her PhD in physics in 1977. PhD in physics. Like when she saw an article in the Stanford student newspaper saying that NASA was hiring new astronauts. Up to that time, most astronauts had been military pilots and all of them were men. Now NASA was looking for scientists and engineers to serve as mission specialists on the space shuttle, and for the first time ever, women could apply. Sally decided on the spot that she wanted to fly in space and immediately wrote a letter asking for an application. NASA received more than 8,000 applications. After months of waiting, Sally got the news that she had been selected among 5 other women as part of a new group of 35 astronaut trainees. The recruits called themselves the 35 New Guys. Could have been better. Yeah, could have been better.
Yeah, it doesn't take a rocket science to figure that one out.
Sally also helped...
name be? I don't know.
The New Guys?
We're just a bunch of new guys. Yeah. That's it.
Sally also helped to develop a robotic arm that space shuttles and later the International Space Station would use to launch and retrieve satellites.
Get the fuck out of here. That's amazing.
In 1981, she was chosen as the first female Capcom, capsule communicator, the voice of mission control talking to astronauts in space. She guided astronauts on missions STS-2 in 1981 and STS-3 in 1982. Then, on April 19th, 1982, NASA's flight crew director summoned Sally into his office, told her she had been selected as the first woman to be part of a shuttle crew. She would serve as a mission specialist for the STS-7 aboard Shuttle Challenger.
Wow.
What's the one that blew up?
Dude, I don't know. I don't know.
I really thought she was the one that blew up.
Oh, man. It is the Challenger, I think.
But she didn't die on it. She lived after.
Shit, well, does it say that she worked on it, or
when she blasted off aboard Challenger in 1983?
Okay, well then that was a different Challenger.
Okay, there's multiple Challengers.
It says January 28th, 1986, the Space Shuttle Challenger broke apart 73 seconds into its flight, killing all 7 crew members aboard. The spacecraft disintegrated 46,000 feet above the Atlantic Ocean off the coast of Cape Canaveral.
That was 1986?
Yeah. This is
1983. Okay.
Right, that's why, why I feel like they're probably different Challengers.
She also was on Challenger in 1984.
Jeez, just missed it.
So maybe that rocket is called Challenger and it went multiple times?
Possibly.
I don't know a lot, clearly. Yeah, but she is so awesome. Tam O'Shaughnessy is so awesome. They it looks like they met and kind of got together like 1982, 1983, and they were together until Sally died in 2012. And they just wrote like children's science books together.
So cute.
Tried to they worked hard on getting children to be into STEM.
It's amazing.
Which I think is so important. There's a picture of her meeting Barack Obama. Fuck yeah. And she looks so cute. She's so tiny. And she has this like classic like middle part poof like I don't know what you would call this haircut.
It's very good.
But it's so good.
So good.
And she's so small. She's got these teeny eyes that crinkle when she smiles.
Oh, so cute.
And they were just like an incredible power couple.
Seriously.
Yeah, I just love it. A year after Sally's death, President Barack Obama awarded her the nation's highest civilian honor, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which was accepted by Tam. Obama said during the award ceremony, quote, "As the first American woman in space, Sally did not just break the stratospheric glass ceiling, she blasted through it. And when she came back to Earth, she devoted her life to helping girls excel in fields like math, science, and engineering," end quote.
Cute.
Just so cool. In 2021, the U.S. Mint announced that Sally would be among the first 5 women honored under the American Women Quarters program. The new Sally Ride Quarter features George Washington on the head side and Sally on the reverse side.
They should have just replaced George Washington with Sally
Ride.
For
real. We don't need him on the quarter.
Nah, he's old. He has been.
Yeah.
That guy's been dead forever.
So cool. And I thought that was awesome because I've known of Sally Ride like my whole life.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that she was LGBT. Like, that's never talked about.
Amazing.
Yeah. So now you know. The more you know.
More you know.
And they were incredible.
I love that.
So fucking go team.
Go fucking team.
Yeah.
Okay. I have one more.
Okay.
And then let's get into these Violet Crumples.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to that.
I am too.
Okay. So, my last but not least is Barbara Giddings. Born in 1932, Barbara Giddings is sometimes referred to as the mother of the LGBT civil rights movement. In the 1950s, the movement was really just starting. Giddings once said the entire movement probably had about 200 members across the whole country.
Wow.
That's how small it was. She started the New York chapter of the Daughters of Bilitis, or Bilitis. I'm not sure how it's pronounced, but I've seen it in a lot of places. The first lesbian civil and political rights organization. They did a lot of stuff, had multiple chapters across the whole country. I saw them come up in several different stories about specifically lesbian activists. Mm-hmm. But okay, the group was originally formed in San Francisco to give lesbians a place to socialize since lesbian bars were constantly being harassed by the police. From 1963 to 1966, Giddings was the editor of the DOB's, Daughters of Bilitis, or Bilitis, the DOB's publication, The Ladder, the first national lesbian publication. From 1965 to 1969, Giddings, along with several other organized protests, emphasized the wrong syllable. Giddings, along with several others, organized protests in front of Independence Hall, the first public protests, on behalf of gay and lesbian rights. In 1965, there were 40 protesters. By 1969, it had more than tripled. One of Giddings' accomplishments was a years-long fight to have the American Psychiatric Association to remove homosexuality as a mental illness. Isn't that insane to think about? This happened in 1973. It happened.
Mm-hmm.
Back in those days, the treatment, air quotes, for homosexuality included electric shock therapy, institutionalization, and even lobotomies. What the fuck, guys? Mm-hmm. That is insane.
Yeah. People really thought there was something wrong with you.
Karl Heinrich Ulrichs, 1820s, and he's talking about how it's totally fucking normal and all this stuff, coming up with terms for intersex, for bisexual, lesbians, all this stuff. 1973, they're like, hey, maybe you're not just sick in the head and you need to be fixed.
Yep.
Maybe you just like men.
Yep.
Or in Barbara's case, like women. Who the fuck cares? As long as they're consenting adults, who cares? Anyway, another endeavor of this brave woman was to promote gay literature to be included in libraries across the nation, eventually receiving a lifetime membership to the American Library Association. Some quotes from her. I've had the satisfaction of working with other gay people all across the country to get the bigots off our back, to oil the closet hinges, to change prejudiced hearts and minds, and to show that gay love is good for us and for the rest of the world too. And then another quote. Equality means more than passing laws. The struggle is really won in the hearts and minds of the community where it really counts.
Oil the closet hinges. I like that.
That's intense.
Yeah.
It's good. Because that it's just the idea that gay people exist. Get over it and let's start moving towards just being fucking cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like why are you being so like judgmental? You're being sort of self-righteous in this idea that you're better. Like it's really giving some fucking hateful vibes. Like it's so annoying. I'm diminishing it by calling it annoying, but you know what I mean.
Yes.
But yeah, Barbara Giddings, amazing things. Also talking about bringing literature and having it be known that gay people exist. Like
I did a little bit of research about her, and that's what stood out to me the most. Is like I feel like she was really advocating for literature and like libraries and books and like making it more accessible and easy to find books and information about the LGBTQ community. Like, it shouldn't be so backdoor, hidden.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
That's why I liked her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was awesome.
Very cool. So, that
Happy
is
Pride.
all of our, all of the queer people that we are going to talk about in this episode. Mm-hmm. So many others could have made the list.
Oh, yeah.
There's so many different ones. I kind of wanted to do like ones that, other than Harvey Milk, I wanted to, because I saw him recently in the news about being like banned in Texas.
Right.
So I was like, let me do Harvey Milk.
Do ones that are less,
but
people that are less known.
Less known, yeah. But
I feel that.
Anyway, it's just crazy that the fight is still going on. It's like during the Women's March when you had like such old women talk, like being like,
I can't believe I'm still fighting for this.
We're still protesting for this. Like, get with the fucking picture.
Mm-hmm.
It is insane to me. Especially going back to like these like such old ideas that have been so thoroughly disproven through psychiatry, psychology, science of every kind. but whatever. And then like the crazy book banning is just so much. Like, it blows my mind.
I know.
Absolutely blows my mind what people are considering like obscene. Like John Green's books.
I know, yeah.
Are getting pulled from the fucking things because they're obscene.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, you guys sound crazy.
It is crazy.
But anyway, I really want to get into this violet crumble. It says on the side, it's the way it shatters that matters.
I'm going to put my mic down to fully enjoy
Are we
this.
supposed to break it or something?
I don't know. I think it's just, like, crumbly on the inside because it's honeycomb. I'm hoping it's not, like, a hurt my teeth situation.
Okay, going in. Let's do it. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. I love it.
I love it too.
I love it so much. Oh, my God. It's so good. Australia, you beautiful, you beautiful nation. You amazing people.
So, Violet Crumble is just a long candy bar that's chocolate coated. And the inside is like this. It's crunchy, but it's airy honeycomb filling. And it is sweet, but the taste is interesting in a great way.
It's so good.
It's really good.
I'm all about this. Holy shit.
Get the Violet Crumble, don't get the Vegemite. If you're in Australia, you can skip it.
I mean, you could try it, but
get the Violet Crumble.
Yeah.
It's great.
Man, that was so fucking good.
Yeah.
Holy shit. What a great way to go out. All right. Anyway, guys. So, again, Hessy and Maven is a fun podcast that my sister and I do together. I'm Justin. She's Raven. We want to keep doing this and having fun and coming up with more and more different types of content to shower the world with our amazing fun. So, in that regard, we have a TikTok, we have an Instagram, we have a YouTube at Hessy and Maven, one word. And then we have an email address, hessyandmaven@gmail.com. Send us your questions, your ideas for topics, your input on whatever topics we talk about. Like, for example, who's somebody that you learned about today that you're like, oh, shit, that's awesome, and you want to go learn more about them? Or is there somebody that we left off? Keep in mind, we can only do episodes for so long, but did we leave anybody off the list that you wish we would have talked about? Like, whatever. Awesome. So definitely remember to always stay tuned. With our Instagram is the best way to probably stay up to date with like episodes coming out and ideas and stuff. But yeah, definitely follow us for all your stuff. And happy Pride. And fuck Ron DeSantis.
Yeah. Amen.
Fuck Ron DeSantis. All right. Thanks so much for tuning into this episode of Hessy and Maven. Please tune in next time where we talk about something else.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.